Hey guys, and I hope that you are all doing well. So I'm going to show you a quick thing about sessions. Now sessions, essentially what I mean is during basically what trading sessions you're going to focus on. So for me, I trade London session and the New York session. I don't really trade the New York as such, but I'm active at least. And then obviously the white space that you can see here is the Tokyo Asian session. So the way to add this is if you go to FX and then you just write sessions. I've got it here, but if you write sessions, you can pretty much use whichever one. I use the one by skill. It's pretty good. Well, to be fair, they're all pretty much the same. And then once you got it on your chart, you can actually just adjust what colors you want. I've taken off the Asian session, just makes it look dumb, to be fair, but I prefer highlighting sessions that I'm going to trade. Now I'm going to show you how to do intraday trades without having too much thought into it. For example, these are more aggressive trades. These are ones that you sort of set and forget, using the exact same concepts. However, it's utilizing what actually happens in each session. Now there's not much emphasis on what actually happens per session, and it's quite key, because what you'll notice is whatever happens in a London session, generally in the New York session the reverse happens. Okay, and in order to be able to trade this, you need to understand what's happening in each session, right? So if we just we'll start from here, right? So I'll show you. Okay, so we can start off with we'll start with this big impulse here. So this impulse, we can see that London here are trying to sell, whereas New York are buying. Now London selling has broken previous structure, right? So that means that London will want to continue to sell, whereas New York will try to go against us. Well, I don't know why I said us, but try going against London, right? And you can see here in London it's trying to sell, and then New York doesn't really do much there, to be honest, and it sort of ties in with it. So you do get these areas of agreement between the two sessions, which is fine. Okay. However, what you can see is that the bias is that the London are trying to sell, London selling, London selling, London selling. Okay, here in the overlap we've got a bullish bias. So this is the move that starts just before the overlap. So during the London session we got a bullish move which broke structure. And then what happens in the next session? So New York tries to sell, London buys, New York sells, London buys, New York sells, London buys, New York sells. And then we get a shift in structure where London sells, breaks structure, London sells, breaks structure, London sells, and New York buys, New York buys, New York buys. We do have this anomaly which is sitting here. However, the way that you would have to register it is the fact you can obviously this move is not what we would expect from London. However, what we have to see is what's happened previously is that fact that London are selling in the previous sessions, right? So it's two against one. So our bias is still sell. It's still to look for sales in the London session. I'm not focusing on the New York session because I don't trade the New York session as such, but the concept is exactly the same. For example, if you're looking for buys, during the New York session, then you'll be focusing on the buys in the New York session only, not the London session. Exactly like that. Now, understanding how to actually trade it. Now, this is a bizarre concept and exactly the same principle as how you would trade normally, right? So using our order blocks, right? So we can see obviously prices made a big impulse during London. Okay, so prices made a big impulse during London, broken structure, right? And our order block, if we refine it, is sitting here. So that's our hourly order block, right? I'm not going to go into refinements. I'm just going to show you what actually happens. We won't look to sell in the London session. In the New York session, we'll look to sell in the New York session because that's where the bias is. Because we had a breaker structure in the London session, and that's where we're going to look to sell, right? So what happens? London session, and your target will be the low of the break. So our target is going to be this one. It's going to be this low here. Right. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'll mark these out. Why not? So yeah. So our OB is here, and then what you can do, instead of going all the way, you can just mark out and refine your OBs from here. So if you go to the 15-minute, we've got this one. Let's go 5-minute if there's any other cleaner one. That's a bit scrappy to be fair. Let's go 1 minute and see if there's anything there. Okay, so we've got an entry point sitting here, and there's one here. So if you go back to the hourly, okay, let our sessions play out. So that's New York. Okay, so now, oh, I've gone too quick there. So our sell position would have been short from here. Our stop loss would be just above where I've marked it there, and then your TP would be here. Okay, and there we go. Right, and let's let that play out. Okay, and then you see London again is looking for sales. Okay, because we didn't get a break of structure yet, we won't be looking for sales in this session, purely because there was no break of structure. Okay, so I'm going off the hourly and then refining the entries from that. I wouldn't suggest doing it on the lower time frames because you're sort of subject to noise. So I would suggest you use the hourly and go from there. The 4 hourly you won't get much information from the session, so the hourly is probably the best for you to use. But yeah, so this trade you'll get a 9R trade off this one. Okay, now we've actually got a break of structure. Okay, and we'll see what happens next. So the break of structure and the move actually originated from this pullback from that candle there. So what we can do is go to mark this candle out. So that candle didn't do much, so this one. So now our OB is here. I'm going to move this to the side so we can just leave it there. So that's going to be our candle. Let's go to the 15-minute, see if we can refine the entry. That one has been mitigated. Let's go 5-minute if there's anything. Okay, this little block here. Okay, and we won't place this order until the next London session. So let me make this out. So let's see what happens during London. So I think this is actually when the big impulse starts happening. Yeah, so what we can see, this is where the impulse starts happening and start looking for bullish. So this one we would have, I'm going to mark this trade out because we would have lost this trade anyway, but I'll mark it out just to show you. So okay, so we lost this trade, that is fine. I'm just going to leave that there so I know where it was. So that's our loss, right? However, we're going to stick to the bias that what trend is showing us. So now that we've actually broken structure, okay, to the upside, we're going to look for buys. Okay, so if I just let this play out, nothing here. Okay, so let me get rid of these lines as well. There. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. So when you get points like this, where you get obviously a bullish move and a bullish move here, we didn't get a pullback to the OB that actually created that move. So we would have missed, there was no trade there anyway. Here we can see again, is we've got a break of structure, which is sitting here, that move there. Right, we've got our OB, which is sitting there. Okay, let me just refine that entry point. So that's 15-minute. Can we refine it even more? Nothing clear there. Okay, I think I can see one. Yeah, there's one right there. I don't think there's any higher. Okay, so there's a point of interest there, point of interest here. When you get 2 points of interest which are pretty clear, what I would suggest doing is using the one big one that we had. It wasn't that one actually. That would work. The 15-minute, I think the 15-minute sort of covers both. So what I would suggest doing is getting 50% of that. Let's just mark it out from there. And we're going to take that trade from the 50% mark of that 15-minute OB. The reason being is I want to just set this trade and go. So let's just see what happens. So we only want to take it during the London session, which is starting now. So let me just take this out again. Oh god, hold on a sec. There we go, and then go back to the hourly. Okay, so let's see what happens. Where does price go? Does it come to it? No, but price did sell from here, which is fine. However, we've got an hourly high and an hourly low, so we haven't broken structure yet. So this is still very valid. Let's see what happens. Okay, so price would have triggered us in, so we would have got triggered in here. Sorry, I forgot to put this on. Our stop loss will be obviously above that, so that's fairly big. Obviously you can refine it if you want to wait for the confirmation entry. However, for me, I would do this as a set and forget. So our TP will be the low that's been formed, and then let's see what happens. Okay, price now hits TP, which is hit here. Okay, hits it perfectly, and now we look for the next structure, because now we've got a structure break. Okay, and London is still selling. Okay, so now let's see what happens. So because London is still selling, we're going to look for the OB. I've gone too quick. So London has sold, broken this structure, created a new low, which is sitting here. Okay, the OB that actually the move came from was the last OB, was this one on the hourly. Was it? Yeah, because we have this little pullback that's happened. Let's refine. You know what, actually I'm not going to refine, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I don't think I need to show you how to actually enter a trade anymore. Exactly the same concept, but let's see what happens. Price doesn't respect it at this point, it just breaks through, so we'd have lost this trade. I'll just mark this out so we know that we've lost. Okay, I know I put the wrong way, but I'll leave that there so we know where it was. So where's price going to now? Here we've got this bullish move from the London, and we haven't broken structure yet to the upside, as the hourly high is up here. So let's see what happens. Are we still looking for sales? Yeah, okay, so now we've got a big move to the downside, break of structure, and let's see what's happening. So what we can see is something that we've actually missed, that I missed because I was playing too quick. So if we go to here, okay, we can see that London is still trying to sell, London is still selling, and that's the anomaly, right? That's the anomaly that I was on about. So far we've lost 2 trades. We've got 9R there, another 9R there, so 18R, take away 1R, 2R, so we've got 16 RR up in the process of a few days. So let's see what happens here. So we've got a break of structure, right, and this break of structure originated, because this one I don't class as a break of structure. However, you can use it for this sake if you want. However, during this session I wouldn't be awake, because this is the Tokyo session. However, London session is starting, and then we've got this impulse, and this impulse was created from this candle here. Okay, let's just refine it, and let's go 5 minute. Okay, so I'm going to use this candle, and I'm going to place a short. Actually, you know, I'm just going to make a line and go back to the hourly. So let me go here, and let's place a short from here. So it's about a 3 pip stop loss on this one. Okay, so we've got that low that's been created, so that's going to be our TP, and this is where we set and forget. So we know that London are looking for sales, and that's the bias that we're going with, and the structure and the trend is all bearish. So let's see what happens. Price triggers and then break structure again. Okay, simple as that. That is 15R secured, and that's there. And let's see what happens next in the next session. So we've got another break of structure, right? And we've got the OB here. This one actually I tried to trade, and we actually got, I lost this trade. I already know this one. Short. Our short was, it was somewhere here. I'm just going to mark it out, call it low. Let's just get rid of that. So I know that where our losses were, but I know that this one did lose. Okay, but it was still a bearish move. And what I realised is price actually just reacted to this inefficient level, which is fine. It makes complete sense why you went there. However, I've got no strategy as to how to trade an inefficiency, purely because it's not reliable. I know some people 50% the inefficiency, but I wouldn't. I don't really like doing that, so I'll not trade that. So we took a loss there, which is perfectly fine. Okay, now we see what happens here. So we've got a break of structure. Okay, and the OB, oh sorry, so this one's a bit of a different one. How do I describe this? So what we can see is we've got this break of structure, right, and we can see that as the London session starts, which we'll show here. I don't really want to show this candle. What we can see is, if we were to go to the 15-minute for this one, we can see that the last move was actually from this candle, which broke structure, right? So we can see a structure break here. So that is now our OB. However, if we go to the hourly, this is quite an interesting one. This is a trade I did take actually. We can see we've actually got a wick trick entry here. Okay. However, let's just see if we can refine it ourselves. So we could just enter off that. Let's just see if there's anything lower, anything clearer. No. No. And let's go to the minute. So which OB was not, that's been mitigated. They're all mitigated apart from this one. So we've got an entry point sitting right there, and this stop loss would be here. So if we go back to the hourly, let's go back to where we were. Okay, so let this session start unfolding. Let me just put this order in. So that's that, and our stop loss, oh yeah, that's a bit big. Our stop loss is going to be here. So this is 0.9 pips, but my minimum is 2, so I'll put that as 2. And our target again is the low that was created, which is here. So this will give us another 14 risk to reward trade, and then let's press play. Okay, triggered, and TP has been hit. Okay, simple as that. So is there any more? I think that's finished. Yeah, so this is real time now. Okay, so what we can see is, if we have a quick recap, in the space of, how many days was that? So in the space of 17 days, yeah, 17 days, that was 9R, took a loss here, so 8R plus 9, 17, then minus 1 is 16, what's that, 16 plus 15, oh god, that's too big maths for me. 16 plus 15, 21, 31, is that 31? Okay, you can basically, we can see that there's 3 losses here. I'm not going to do a quick math for you, but we can see you've got 9R and about 9R, about 15R, and another 14.8, so 15R trade wins. Okay, and we've only taken 1, 2, 3 losses. That's just following the bias of what's happening in each trading session. So this is something you can incorporate. It's more of an aggressive style that you can do. I didn't need to go to any other time frame apart from refining the entry, so I didn't go any higher than the 1 hour, because we don't need the overall basis, because we're looking for short moves. We're aiming just for the hourly lows on every single structure break that we get. So essentially, quick summary, we need to find the breaker structure, where it came from. So for example here we've got a breaker structure, came from London session, so London are looking to sell. What happened? London sold, hit TP, but then obviously we've got stopped out on the next selling, about selling here, stopped there, which is fine, but we broke structure. So now we're looking for buys, but obviously we didn't get a buy entry here, but there was a bullish move. Okay, then we had a breaker structure which happened from London session. We found the entry, it came back, and then we hit TP. Again, we've got this massive impulse down, but then obviously we've got a breaker structure because our bias was looking to sell, and we would have sold from here, but obviously because that was the last candle before the breaker structure. However, obviously we got stopped out, which is fine. Then we didn't really have anything going on. However, we can see that London are still trying to look to sell. They're still trying to sell from this massive impulse. Okay, and then we can see we didn't really get a breaker structure until this move. This happened in the Sydney session, but we see we left at OB. London we know is trying to sell, so we just placed the order and let it go. Hit TP. London again trying to sell. This one this one stopped out, but it still shows that London is still trying to sell. Again, London is selling. So what we can see, I know, sorry about the notifications by the way, that's the Discord, so that's all you guys. So yeah, so implement this, try and backtest it as much as you can. You can pretty much do it on any pair that you like. What I would say is use a pair that correlates to the session, so Euro pairs, GBP pairs, trade that in the London session. Then if you want to trade the US session, then you know what to do. It's the US pairs that you'll be focusing on. So yeah, so hope you enjoy this more aggressive approach for intraday trades. You do take losses, as you've seen here. I've not actually seen the chart back here. I've seen what's happened here because I've taken that one. I've taken this trade and I didn't take that one, and I missed this one. But I saw what's happened here. I didn't see what's happened here, so I've taken these trades pretty much live with you, and you can see what's actually happened, and you can see the thought process behind it. So yeah, it is a slightly more aggressive approach, but it gives you a bit more of a story what's happening in each session along with our order blocks. So I hope you enjoy, back test it, try it in a demo, forward test it, and then get comfortable with the session idea and see if this a more aggressive approach works for you. If not, obviously there's a different approach, which is our normal vertex method approach, but it's up to you. You have to find what is comfortable for you, and then yeah, I mean, once you find what's best for you, then you know what to do. Here you've only taken that trade in the morning during our London session. I know most of you trade the London session, and then you can just do whatever you want for the rest of the day. You can just leave these orders set and let it go. But yeah, see how it goes, and enjoy.